Good morning, 7 East. Happy Friday, everybody. It is the end of our 4th week of distance learning. I can't believe it's already been 4 weeks. It feels like 4 months, but also very fast on the other hand as well. So this is our last broadcast of the week, and I'm going to just let you know now, as part of our objectives or agendas for today, I'm going to give you a preview of next week as the third item on our agenda. And I like the idea of doing a weekly calendar that I had this year, and I'm going to do something similar for next week, and you're actually going to get to see it at the end of the show today. Free LEPRE Radio is also going on a bit of a hiatus. Monday will be our one and only show of next week because the other 4 days a video will be posted, and I'm going to show you those plans for those days at the end of the show today. So 3 segments today, audience Q&A. Our second segment, the Jefferson administration, I'm going to go over the notes, which you already have in the slides. This will be hugely important for doing the assignment on Monday. So let's go. Audience Q&A. First question. I heard school is now canceled until April 29th. Is that true? Yes, Governor Cuomo extended the school closures until Wednesday, April 29th. I actually think this is good news for us coming back for school, believe it or not. The governor has been saying that every 2 weeks he is going to reevaluate and make a decision. He actually made this decision way in advance, which to me makes me think that he's planning for this to be maybe the last absence. So now we have basically 3 to 4 weeks to know that we have this much time left, and then we'll go back. He may delay it till after the weekend, but I'm actually very optimistic about going back. Maybe not on 4/29 itself, but maybe after the weekend, which is, I believe, May 4th or May 3rd, one of those. But yes, we're going to be out until 4/29, at least. Will we have a Unit 6 test? Well, since the closures have extended to April 29th, after Unit 6 is over, there will be no Unit 6 test itself. But the Unit 7 test will require some of the things we learn in Unit 6. So Unit 7, which I'm very confident we'll be back in school for, it does touch on a lot of the same topics, especially at the end of Unit 6. So next week and the week after for Unit 6, all that stuff is not going to go away. You'll still need to know it for Unit 7 as well. And last question, when is the homework for this week actually due? All right, so this was a little bit of a confusing week with the holidays, but it's all due end of the day on Sunday. So everything should be turned in on Sunday. If it's Monday, it's technically late. That is our third and final question on our audience Q&A. Remember always to fill out the Google check-in form. I answer all of your questions there. Second, Jefferson administration. So I'm going to X out of my Free LEPRE Radio presentation and go to my Jefferson slides. Now, the slides you already have, I'm going to post them again on Monday with this video, because you're going to use these slides to take notes, just like you did with John Adams, you're going to do with Thomas Jefferson. This slideshow is a little bit shorter, I believe, but there's more information in it that you need to know. So the Jefferson administration, the election of 1800, probably one of the ugliest presidential elections in American history. Also one of our earliest, though. So this idea of politics being a dirty business is not new. It's been going around forever. Election of 1800 between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson was a vicious campaign. Imaginative insults flying both ways. Literally, the insults were so bad that I cannot say them on the air. And if you're interested in looking at what the campaign said about each other, you can look that up on your own, but stuff that I cannot say on the air. But between President Adams running for re-election and Vice President Jefferson trying to kick him out of office and take his place, lots of drama, worthy of a reality show. Now, John Adams was a member of the Federalist Party. Thomas Jefferson was a member of the Democratic Republican Party, called Republicans for short, even though there's no relation to the modern-day Republican Party. So Jefferson won the election with a small majority. So just like he lost the previous election with a small majority, he won this election with a small majority. And you can still see the divide in the country. The Republicans have the South and West. Federalists have like a coastal and northeastern dominance in terms of their voters. And the country is getting bigger, as we keep saying. So these are the problems that are facing President Jefferson when he steps into office. So he's the first president who had to take over after the other political party had power. No one knew how to transition easily. People wondered whether or not Adams would cooperate with his new administration. It was a challenge for the new president. 2, there were continued conflicts with Native Americans and settlers moving west. The westward movement never stops. 3, America was still being caught in a tug of war between Britain and France, who were still fighting and each wanted America to favor them in the war. 4. American ships started facing threats from pirates in the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea. So pirates of the Mediterranean. We're going to start with foreign policy. So westward expansion and Louisiana Purchase. So America's trading rights at this time to go through New Orleans, which is at the bottom of the Louisiana Purchase map right here, were blocked by Spain, and this led to calls for war. So calls for war never seemed to stop either. So Jefferson's administration, they decided to purchase the entirety of the Louisiana Territory from Napoleonic France in 1803 for just $15 million. And that almost doubles the size of the entire country. So on this map, everything in brown is all that's added in one signing of the document. They sign the Louisiana Purchase, and America basically doubles in size. So that whole section now becomes American territory. Why did Napoleon need the money? Well, he's still fighting England and he needs money to fund his army and all that stuff. So part of this, with the westward expansion, was that Jefferson ordered Lewis and Clark expedition to explore and research the Louisiana Territory. They were hoping to find a waterway linking the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean. So Lewis and Clark were explorers, and Jefferson hired them to basically go through the Louisiana Territory, reach the Pacific, and see how you could actually connect the Mississippi to the Pacific. And here we have their route as they go through the wilderness with their Native American guide, Sacagawea, who was also on a $1 coin. If you have a $1 coin, you may actually see her face on it. War with the Barbary States. So American ships are being attacked by pirates in the Mediterranean Sea. Remember, we're abbreviating this stuff on your Jefferson notes. That's the Monday assignment, so you don't have it yet. Jefferson first responded by paying the pirates, basically paying them off, saying, stop attacking our people, we'll pay you. But then he decided to use military force to stop them from taking American ships. And here we have one of these famous paintings of American sailors battling some of these pirates in the Mediterranean off of the North African coast. So remember, America's a young country. We have to stand up for ourselves, otherwise we're going to get bullied. So Jefferson feels like we have to respond with force against these pirates who are interrupting all of our trade. And eventually the U.S. Marines, they defeated the Barbary States and stopped them from seizing American ships and sailors. This made America seem strong and capable, so no one was going to bully us anymore. We actually stood up for ourselves. Here we have a famous painting of the U.S. Marines leading an attack. Yes, U.S. Marines, even around back then, and much earlier too. So, crisis averted with the pirates, but in 1803, Britain and France were at war again, and America tried to remain neutral. So we don't want to pick a side. So even though Jefferson is a Republican and he likes France more than Britain, as a president now, he sees the wisdom of Washington and Adams and he wants to remain neutral. So Britain and France were seizing American ships, and Britain was actually kidnapping American sailors. This is called impressment. It's where they take American sailors and they use them on their ships to fight in their war against France. Now, why would Britain just be kidnapping Americans? Well, at this time, Britain did not accept the idea that someone could actually immigrate to America from England and then change their citizenship. From their point of view, if you're born in England, you are a subject of the king, and you can't just shirk your responsibilities and go to a new country. So if they found someone who was born in England, they just take them off the ship, even if they were an American citizen. And sometimes, even if they were not born in England, and they just maybe had an English accent, they'd take them anyway. So a lot of American citizens who were born in America were kidnapped and forced to serve in the British Navy. And here you have this picture. The British ships would literally stop the American ships in the ocean, look for people who seemed that they were English, and then just pull them onto their ship. So Jefferson responded to this by signing the Embargo Act of 1807, and this stopped all American trade to prevent American ships from being taken, and it wound up hurting America economically more than anyone else, so it actually backfired, and the act was repealed the year after he left office in 1809. So an embargo, just in general, was a thing where you stop trading. You just say, we're not trading with you anymore. The problem was America didn't really have that many people to trade with to begin with, so it didn't really hurt France and England to stop trade with the United States. It hurt them a little bit, but they still could trade with anybody else they wanted. So it hurt America more than anybody else. And here we have a political cartoon making fun of the embargo. And the embargo, since it's like slowing down the U.S. economy, it's shown as like a tortoise, basically, holding back all the trade. Conflict with Native Americans. Thousands of American settlers moved westward, and Native Americans suffered as a result from disease and displacement. This is a common theme. We've seen it in Washington's administration, we've seen it in Adams, and we see it in Jefferson as well. So Native Americans organized armed resistance to continued settlement and westward expansion, and the American military was used to crush Native American resistance in the West. And a lot of these Native American tribes are actually going to ally with Britain once again in the War of 1812, which we'll talk about next week. Now, domestic policy. The Revolution of 1800. So Jefferson was the first president to take over after a president from another political party. As a result, when he took office, there was a huge change in the way he did things compared to John Adams. This big change was called the Revolution of 1800. So remember, back to that old definition we did for revolution. It's a sudden and complete change. So in this revolution, Jefferson reduced government involvement in the economy. He supported laissez-faire or let-alone policies. He wanted the economy to run by itself without the government involved. Adams was much more willing to use the government. That was part of what the Federalists believed in. In addition to this, under his administration, Jefferson reduced the size of the federal government. He made cuts to the army, diplomats, government employees, taxes, and so on. He also freed anybody imprisoned under the Sedition Act and refunded any fines they paid. So remember, the Republicans were against the Alien and Sedition Acts. They said they violated the First Amendment. So Jefferson said these were wrong. We're going to have these repealed, and then we're going to pay people back, those who were punished by them. You were imprisoned under them, you're going to go free. If you were fined, we're going to pay you back for those fines. Changes to the courts. So Jefferson ordered his administration to stop the judicial appointments started at the end of the Adams administration. So what happened before Adams left office, after he got defeated in the election, he tried to basically, before he left, get more influence in the country, and he tried to name as many judges as he could who would agree with him. Right before he left. They were called the Midnight Justices because he named them like on the midnight before he left office. And one of those people he hired was a man named William Marbury. And now, under Jefferson, he has his job canceled. So Adams gave him the job, but it didn't get delivered to him until Jefferson took office. So Marbury sued the court, saying, look, I was given this appointment by Adams. I deserve to be on the court. I deserve to be a judge, even though Jefferson is now president. Well, Marbury sued, and the court actually ruled that the Judiciary Act of 1789 was unconstitutional. So the controversy resulted in one of the most famous and important court cases in U.S. history, Marbury versus Madison. And in Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court took on the power of judicial review. That is, being able to strike down unconstitutional laws. So they said, you know what, Marbury, you have a point, but the court really has no power in this area to give you your commission back because technically the president is allowed to name people. So they said, you know what, he should have been put on the court, but we can't do anything about it. But at the same time, they set up this power of judicial review. So judicial review is also part of the unwritten Constitution. It's a tradition that has existed since Marbury versus Madison, even though the power of judicial review is not stated directly in the Constitution itself. So judicial review is basically a booth review, like in a football game. There's a controversial call, you have a booth review to check it to see if it still holds up. And in judicial review, they check it to see if a law is constitutional or not. And they struck down the law in this case, but Marbury does not get his judge spot. Jefferson's president now, and basically too bad for him. Election of 1804. So Jefferson, he wins re-election in a landslide against the Federalist candidate, Charles Pinckney. Jefferson's first term was considered a success, and his political party, the Democratic Republicans, were vastly more popular than the Federalist Party because they were seen as the party of the common people, whereas the Federalists were seen as the party of the powerful. And you can see how this was reflected in the outcome of the election, how Jefferson wins almost every single state. So he just crushes his opponent. And the Federalists really never had political power again. After Hamilton dies, and after the Adams presidency, there's really nobody to basically lead the Federalists. And America kind of almost becomes a one-party country for a few decades. And then Jefferson, he's following the example of George Washington. He retires after his second term as president. So today Jefferson is honored as both a president and writer of the Declaration of Independence by having his face on both the nickel and $2 bill, one of those rare presidents who actually has his face on two articles of money. Lincoln has his on the penny and $5 bill, Washington on the quarter and $1 bill, Jefferson on the nickel and the $2 bill. So $2 bill is not commonly used. You still might see them every now and then. I guess people don't think they're that practical nowadays. You just use two ones or a 5. But I love the design of the $2 bill, especially on the back. I don't have a picture of the back, but the back has a design of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Now, grading President Jefferson. This is the last thing that's going to be on your notes for the Monday assignment. So based on what you learned from this slideshow and what your own opinions are, how do you think Thomas Jefferson should be remembered? Last section on your notes tasks you with giving Thomas Jefferson a letter grade for his job as president. Is he an A+ president, an F, something in between? You decide and explain at the bottom of those notes. Remember, these notes will appear on Monday. That does it for Thomas Jefferson. And now I'll preview next week. So, third item on our agenda is a preview of next week. So next week, this is the calendar you're going to see for the week on Monday. And this is how I see the whole week playing out. So video, you have Free LEPRE Radio, the 19th episode on Monday. And I'll talk about how is Jefferson remembered, the election of James Madison, and the preview of the War of 1812. So America is having a rematch with Britain, War of 1812. And that's going to be the topic for most of next week. So the assignment's going to be the Jefferson administration notes. You can use this video and what I say on the video for Monday, the 18th and 19th screencasts, and you take abbreviated notes in your own words on the Jefferson administration. We also have a Google Meet at 12:30 from 12:30 to 1 on Monday. Tuesday, I am going to post part 1. Actually, I'm going to post all of the parts of the documentary. So there's a documentary we're going to watch on the History Channel on the War of 1812. I've split it into 4 parts. They're basically 20 minutes or less each. And basically for the rest of the week, you're going to watch each part. So 20 minutes a day, that's all I'm asking. You can watch more if you want. So the assignment for Tuesday, which is due Thursday, is that you're going to answer the documentary questions for parts 1 and 2. It is a Google form multiple choice question sheet. And the question will tell you if it comes from part 1, and it will tell you the minute where that topic comes up, so you'll know where to find it, the question and answers. We'll also have Mega Gim Kit 3 on Tuesday. At 12:30 to 1:10, and that's going to be basically on everything from Jefferson and earlier from the unit. So study your Washington notes, your Adams notes, your Jefferson notes, and you should be good for the Gim Kit, Mega Gim Kit 3. War of 1812 Part 2, so this is, you're going to watch the second part, and if you didn't finish the assignment from Tuesday, you can also answer the questions for Part 2 on Wednesday as well. Thursday, I'm going to put Part 3 up for the War of 1812 documentary. And we'll also do Mega Gim Kit 4 from 12:30 to 1:10. And then we're going to include some of the stuff from Madison and the War of 1812 in the questions also. And then on Friday, the last part of the documentary, War of 1812 Part 4. There is no new assignment, but I'm going to post the following Monday's assignment, that is April 20th. I'm going to post that assignment early on Friday. And that's going to be similar to the assignment on Tuesday, a Google form questions for parts 3 and 4. So it's going to be assigned on Monday to be due Wednesday, but I'm going to post it early on Friday because if you finished watching part 3 and 4, you might just want to get it out of the way and answer the questions. And then we'll have a Google Meet on Friday from 12:30 to 1. That is next week in a nutshell. I'll get into a little more detail on Monday's broadcast, a little more fun segments, but this show's gone on long enough. So I'm going to sign off for the weekend. Hopefully you had some good holidays, those of you who are celebrating, and hopefully you got a little bit more rest, because now we're in it for the long haul for the rest of the year. Mr. LEPRE signing off.